This video assumes that you have watched the first few videos in the Dean & Beans online course, and you've learned how to load your yarn, for example, and how to cast on, and now you're ready for a first mini project. So I have cast on. I'm using a 60 needle cylinder, but you could do this project with any cylinder. It's just really a scrap for test. And I have some waste yarn. And we are going to test a couple of different things. One of the things is we're going to try out how to use the ravel cord. So to change the yarn, and there's a whole video on this, but just as a reminder, here's my main mark. I'm going to crank until my main mark is, just before where the yarn feeder really goes. And then I'm going to cut off maybe 8 inches or so of yarn. And pull my waste yarn out, and I'm going to crank just until my main needle is right at, I want one needle past the main mark, is just at the yarn feeder. And then I'm going to take my ravel cord and I'm going to drop the end in, and I'm going to lay this just on the other side, so that first I take this out. So I'm going to pull through my scrap yarn end and drop it in the cylinder. And then I'm going to put in my ravel cord and load it through, and I'll show you from the other side as well. This is looking at it from the other side. This is my first needle past the main mark. So I've dropped the project yarn in, I've got the ravel cord, and they're really hugging around the two sides of that needle. And now I'm going to take a weighted clip. You don't have to do this, but I like to do this, and clip it on the two sides together, kind of hold them there together. And then I have threaded the ravel cord through my yarn feeder. I'm going to crank one row. And then when I get back around, so my main mark, this is my first needle past my main mark. So again, I'm going to pull through the ravel cord down into the cylinder. And now I'm going to get my project yarn set up. We're not going to be cranking in reverse, so you do not need the heel spring for this. I'm going to drop it down into the cylinder first. And I'm going to now gather up all of those ends together and put them into a weighted clip. There we go. And then I'm going to put my new yarn, my project yarn, on the other side of that main needle, so that my new the end of the ravel cord and the project yarn are hugging that needle, and feed the yarn through the yarn feeder. Now I'm going to turn on my row counter and reset it by holding the button on the right, reset it to 0, and now I'm going to crank 50 rows. All right, so there I have cranked my 50 rows, and now, because this is just a swatch, I'm going to go ahead and take my yarn off, unwind it, and then I like to reach down into the tube and pull the weight out. Whoops. And then just hold on firmly at the bottom while you crank. We'll pull the project off the machine, and there you have a little gauge tube. So here you have your little sample swatch with your one row of ravel cord, your waste yarn, and the setup bonnet. To take the ravel cord out, you want your loom tool And I like to just unknit the first couple of stitches so that they don't catch. It doesn't really like catch on itself. And then once those first couple of stitches are out, take the longer end and wrap it around your hand and just pull. There we go. And then your project will pull right away from your waste yarn. And so there you go. You have a little sample gauge swatch that you could measure and test your tension, see if that's how you like it, before you would go on and knit a sock. And because we did not cut the yarn, you can just unwind the yarn from your yarn feeder, from your yarn mast, and wind it back on your cone and go ahead and reknit this to make your sock project or whatever else you're knitting. I hope that helps. Happy cranking! Visit us at deanandbean.com and please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.